Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? The Saints, of course, will head into next season with a new head coach. We know it's Dennis Allen. Sean, I'd love your thoughts on the decision the Saints made to promote Dennis Allen from D.C. to head coach.
I think it's a good one, Matt. I do. We always, a lot of times when somebody does it the first time around, whether it's the team, they're on the learning thing. I mean, the greatest coach of all time wasn't real good in Cleveland and Belichick. And if you take a look, and I encourage people to go look at the staff that Bill Belichick had in Cleveland, and you'll say, damn, how'd they lose? Well, there's ways to lose. So I think Dennis was feeling his way out the first time. He was not on a great team. And I think that can be a great experience. And having been around really good coaches, he got a taste of what it's like to be on a good team, to be a coordinator who took a defense that was reeling and made them a Super Bowl defense scheme-wise and putting personnel in the right position, learning from one of the best play callers on the planet and head coaches in Sean Payton. So you see how defenses now will, in practice and the way in talking and just being around Sean Payton and how offenses will attack you and how to attack good offenses. I think it's a really good hire. I think it's familiar. I think it's a guy who's learned his lesson, and it's like Josh on the offensive end, McDaniels in Oakland, and now Dennis Allen on the defensive end. The guys, for different reasons, didn't go about it the right way the first time. Whether it's success, the way you went about handling your team and commanding the room and all those things. And I think Dennis has been one of the better defensive coordinators in the league over the last handful of years. I think this is the right hire. Why go out of the building if you feel like you got the guy in the building? And I think it's good. And he sounded good in the press conference, and now he's got to go to work. I think he's prepared, and I think people like it when the teammates know the guy and know what to expect. And now he'll have the responsibility of game days, Sundays, making game decisions aside from calling defenses. I think this is the right hire, and I'm excited to see what the next step is without a legendary offensive play caller in Sean Payton.
Well, I want to ask about who's going to call plays in just a second, but one more on Allen. Do you worry at all internally, and I mean asking you as a former player who knows the culture of a locker room, like about sort of the substitute teacher mentality, which sometimes happens like at the college ranks, right, where the popular assistant gets promoted and it doesn't really work out? Do you worry about that with this?
Yeah, I always do. I worry about when I hear, it's kind of like when I hear people say, oh, he's a player's coach. Not just Dennis, but any time. Now, what kind of player's coach? Are you the player's coach that guys come in and they think they can walk all over you because you're their buddy? Like I'm a dad, and I'm a dad first to my kids, and then I'm their friend second. And I think a coach has to have that mentality. And I talked to Brian Urlacher this morning again about this, and he said, Sean, the great thing about it is it's the player's coach, the other side, that you know the rules, you know what to expect, and sometimes the substitute teacher, I'm not saying in the case of Sean Payton with Dennis Allen, sometimes the sub is the one you want to keep all the time because you're learning, but you're doing it different. And that's okay, too. And I don't know if that's going to be the case with Dennis because you got big shoes to fill. But it's the others, it's the player's coach that listens to his players about some of the things they're going through and is willing to adjust with them, but make sure he maintains the fact that you're still my coach. So, yeah, I think any time you stay in-house, there is that, and that's incumbent upon the coach to make sure I'm no longer the assistant. I'm your head coach. I don't want to do things a whole lot different because I don't want it to feel like I'm beating you with a sledgehammer, meaning not literally but figuratively over how we're going to do things my way or the highway, but to take what you've learned as an assistant, because most players are closer to the assistant than they are the head coach, and transfer that into, okay, I got that relationship, which are important in the building, but now you have to understand, I'm not your friend. If you don't perform, you don't play here. If you do perform, I'm listening, and if you don't perform, I'm going to give you every opportunity. But I'm the head coach, and my job is tied to your performance. So this isn't just buddy, do that. I think there's a fine line to be able. I've seen both, where some guys can't get out of that mode, and it hurts them, and where some guys can shift on the fly, and from two-wheel drive to four-wheel drive and say, I'm the head coach now, I'm going to do both, but let's not make any mistake where we're headed, and do a lot of the things Sean wanted to do, but add your own spin to it. And I think that's important for a head coach. Everybody doesn't have to be the guy in front of him. You're replacing him for a reason. You have traits maybe that the other guy doesn't have. Make sure the team sees them.
Sean, you and I a couple of weeks ago talked about, I guess it was last week, with Sean Payton out, what does that do for the Saints being a desirable spot for maybe a Rodgers or a Russell Wilson, one of these big-name quarterbacks? What could Dennis Allen do at OC? Because it sounds like Pete Carmichael Jr. won't retain that role. He'll stay on staff, but they're going to go outside to bring in an OC. What could he do there that would make sense, that would make the Saints an attractive spot for quarterbacks and other offensive players?
I'll be honest with you. If I was Dennis, Pete would be in the interview with the guy we're hiring. I don't normally subscribe to that. I'd go, you get opinion. I would want Pete's recommendation. Pete Carmichael's is well-respected and probably could have finished Sean's sentences and knows exactly what they're doing. While Pete's not going to call him, but man alive, I guarantee you, no matter who, I don't care if it's a 30-year-old, I don't care if it's a 70-year-old. I'm okay with that. I thought a lot about this. I said, because not only coming on with you each week, but just this is you're replacing a legendary play caller, and we're now going to be 2 years removed when this starts from a tremendous quarterback who also was in command on the field. So you're really losing two of them, right? And you had to adjust this year. So I actually would not just kind of talk to Pete. I would lean on him a lot with this, Matt. I really would, because I want to know. I want somebody that's smarter than you on the offensive side of the ball, and he is, because he coaches the offensive side. So I think what you're looking for is the ability to, what New Orleans has missed the last couple of years. This year, because they protected Jameis when he was playing, and Taysom's not that guy, of find the guy who wants to attack and cut your heart out and feed it to you as an offensive play caller, but also has the wherewithal that if I got to go throw 17 times in a game because Dennis's defense is playing lights out, I'm okay with that. I can't have all or nothing in either one. I've got to have a mix, and I don't know where that guy comes from. If Pete, I can coach his quarterbacks, but right now, somebody who calls plays, I'm looking for aggressive, but I'm looking for calculated as well. Pete Carmichael would not be just an afterthought in, hey, thanks, Pete, you're going to oversee it and be around, but I'm going. And I think you got to almost put your ego aside if you're a head coach and lean on a guy who is pretty damn good at it and who this city knows and who this organization has counted on, and go for it. I don't know where they're going. I thought long and hard about, okay, where are they going to pluck this guy from and who's available that's got some experience. And I don't know the name and who it's going to be, but I can tell you this, make sure that you trust him, because as a defensive coach and you're getting the head coaching job, Lovie Smith will turn everything over here to Pep Hamilton. Find a guy that looks at you and says, I'm putting my offense in your guys' trust, that I'm not gonna oversee and step on your throat when it comes to having how you're gonna play. My defense will play the way we play. We're not gonna play defensive offense. We're gonna separate the two, and then we're gonna work together. I would like Pete involved in this. I think if you're smart, you do.
He is Sean Salisbury. Hey, before you go, you mentioned Lovie Smith in Houston. That probably caught a lot of people by surprise, man. What's been the reaction there to the hire?
You know what? It was not crazy, but it was a little bit surprising. The fans love it because of his experience. You know what it is, Matt? It's a safe hire. Think about it. I mean, it's not riskier than Nathaniel Hackett with Denver. Sure. It's not riskier than Kevin O'Connell. I mean, he hasn't called plays in Los Angeles. Now, they're the big reward because they're younger, or Mike McDaniel, who's been so good in San Francisco. This is the guy who's seen it all. He's got calmness in the building, not a yeller and screamer. And Brian Urlacher told me he elevates people and elevates players, and that's a good thing. And so while you're building this, he's a good guy to have around. I didn't like the process they went about getting to him. I think that they're dysfunctional with that. I think he deserved more respect up front instead of they gave us this optics that was kind of like an afterthought. That's what it looked like. Well, McCown's not, no Brian Flores. Let's get Lovie. Well, he's been in the building for a year. You should have known that already, what kind of leader he was. So I think Lovie deserved better when it came to how they went about it. But it may be his last chance as the head coach at 63. I think it's a safe hire. I may not move the needle for some because it's not sexy, but I like Lovie Smith, and I think it's a good calming effect. Players want to play for him. Now they just got to get the right player and the guys that can win, because it doesn't matter how good a coach you are. If you don't have players, that coach will get fired. If you got players and you're a good coach, then you got a chance. So they're a ways away, but I think it was safe. Most of the fans like the hire because they like the calming effect that Lovie Smith and the experience that goes with it.
It's always a great conversation. He is Sean Salisbury. Follow him on Twitter at Sean Unfiltered. You're the best, man. Thank you so much.
Loved it. Bengals by about 3.5. If I did 3.5 with this, whatever it is, I know they're underdogs.
Okay.
Bengals win by a field goal late, brother.
Love it. Let's go.
Yep.
All right.
Man, brother. There you go. I'll talk to you.
Thanks, Sean. See you, man. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.